So over the next 90 minutes, we will have 5 presentations from different institutes, basically giving us an update and showing us what they are working on when it comes to implementing IIIF at their institution, or for others within the context of Europeana as well. So thank you once again all for joining. And very simply put, I will now hand over to the first presenter, Tom Miles from the British Library, who will give us an update on IIIF and Mint. Over to you, Tom.
Okay, thanks very much, Glenn. I think I'm just going to start from here, really, because usually what I'm saying is I usually have about 2 hours to explain things to people, and I've got 15 minutes. So it's going to be a brief overview, but I hope you can get an idea of what it's like, what you need to do in order to get your IIIF content to display properly on Europeana. And I think the best way is for me to start off by introducing you to this. It's a fantastic newspaper that's digitized by the Endangered Archive Project, the Barbados Mercury, in the round about this late 1700s to the early 800s. So it's a very painful subject area. But it's really quite incredible that we have it. So what you're looking at this point is the universal viewer displaying content page by page. And then I'm going to take you through what looking under the bonnet, basically, so that you can see the different ways that it's made up. So we're going to first have a look at the manifest, and you can get the manifest by clicking share, and then clicking the IIIF logo, and hopefully that takes you to the manifest. And this has all the sort of accompanying metadata. And it also gives you the order in which all the different images are stored. So we're going to have a look at the first one by clicking the first page. Hopefully it takes you. I'm hoping it takes you to the can everybody see a thumbnail image there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is the thumbnail image. This is one of the URLs you're going to need to fill in order for the Europeana to display properly. And if you look at the URL up at the top, you'll see that at the end of it is /full/full 0 default JPEG. And this is really instructions on how to display the thumbnail. And I can demonstrate that by changing that 0 to 90. And if I refresh, then you'll see it on its side. So this is to let you know that there is actually a main identifier which doesn't have those instructions at the back of it. And so if I remove these instructions and then I click refresh again, then it takes me to another a kind of manifest on each image, so to speak. So it tells you what the image identifier is, and it tells you about the IIIF protocol context and profile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the presentation. And I'll explain a bit more carefully about the 7 fields you need to fill out in order for the Europeana to display properly. So these are the first fields you need to fill in, and you need to fill this in if you had just a standard image or an audio or whatever. First of all, you have your EDM is shown at, and that's the URL to the web page where the content can be viewed. And in this case, this is the web address to the Endangered Archive project. And then you have is shown by, which is linking to the actual digital object itself. So that takes you straight to that object, not the web page, but the object itself. And also you have the EDM object, because that's going to be the thumbnail image. And so here we are. I've put the URL, that's the address of the thumbnail image. And that is that's going to mean that your thumbnail will display on Europeana in a search. So let's go and look at some more additional fields you have to fill in. Oops. Okay. So here we've got the web resource section for the EDM, European Data Model, that you need to submit. You'll see this more clearly when I show you the Mint interface, which is how I and a lot of aggregators harvest metadata to Europeana. So the web resource section also has that thumbnail URL that we looked in the last screen. But then there's another section, another field called DC terms is referenced by. And this is the manifest. That's the manifest that we found when we clicked on that IIIF logo. So that is where the manifest URL goes. And then finally, the field that that is the thumbnail, but without this last bit of /full 0 default. That goes in what is called SVCS has service. So you can see everything that's in bold, you put in that field. You don't put the rest of the thumbnail URL. That's the bit that gets taken off. And finally, the additional URLs you'll also need. You'll need this thumbnail ID again, because there's a separate section called SVCS service. And that has the information about what type of IIIF it actually is. So 1 is to say that it's an image, and 2, it's to say what type of image it is. So I'm going to go now to the Mint mapping interface. So you can see from here, hopefully, that this is where all this information gets to. On the left-hand side, you'll see a series of headings. This is actually just it could either be an XML or a CSV that you've uploaded onto Mint, and then you'll see the headings of the column in that left-hand side. And then this main section is the different sections on Mint that you need to map to. So the most important section that we're actually not going to be talking about very much is the provided cho. And if you open that up, you see this is all the sort of who, where, what, when, how, all the information about creator, date, description, subjects. That's there. That would be normally there for any other non-IIIF image. But here you can see the web resource section. So I can open this up. I can open that, click on that @ and you'll see that I've mapped the thumbnails over into the RDF section of the web resource field. And then if I keep on scrolling down, there's quite a few different sections here, but the ones that really have to go, that have to really be put in, there is the manifests into this field is referenced by. And then there's also the SVCS section, and that's the ID of the thumbnail. And finally, the last section, I was telling you about SVCS. And this is, again, the thumbnail IDs. I can look at that and show you the different values. It's not showing that. And also the section, the DOAP. Sorry, I'm scrolling down to find it because it's slightly changed. Yes, so sorry, that was the SV section. DC terms has got this IIIF image information in it. That's pretty static, and also the type of image that it is. So on Mint, this mappings interface, what I can do is I can preview this content, and from here I can go back, I can have a look and see what it's going to look like before I upload it to Europeana. So, oops, sorry, I've got to log in again. Hang on a minute, bear with me. So if I look at these different, all these different records which I've uploaded to Mint, I can just click on one of them, and I can see that it's mapped correctly. I can see all these different sections, the web resource, aggregation information, which has got the thumbnail images, and also the IIIF information in it, in the service field, and the web resource. So it's all displaying there. I can see that, and I get a sort of vague sense of what it would look like on Europeana, but this is a preview which has since been succeeded by various improvements in the viewing of Europeana. But if you want to have a look at the what this is going to look like on Europeana, you'll see if you fill in those 7 fields properly and you get it absolutely right, then it's going to display slightly differently to your universal viewer, because Europeana has a different setup. But you'll see that you can navigate from Europeana to your content, and it's just a different way of sharing it, as opposed to the initial way that you've put it, as it was here. So that's a sort of very brief overview of what needs to happen in order for IIIF content to display properly on Europeana. I've added a few more. I've added some more information. Where to go for information about metadata and content and the mapping guidelines, and there's also a sort of full list of requirements for submitting IIIF to Europeana. And I hope I have finished that in 15 minutes. Thank you very much for listening, and do get in touch if you want to talk about any audio related collections to share on Europeana, or just want to talk about aggregation generally. That's me finished. I'd be very happy to take questions, or Greg, it may be that you want to take questions from all of us at the end of the seminar.
Thanks a lot, Tom. We're going to field questions through the chat just for the ease of organization, because we have an amazing 75 people here in this webinar, which is blowing my mind, and I'm very excited about it. We have one question that came in through the chat from Christina Rose, which reads, where were the other 4 pages images of the newspaper mapped? Only the first page was mapped as a thumbnail, correct? Or did I miss something?
No, that's absolutely right. You can choose the thumbnail, and that will show, and that could be like, for example, British Library digitizes a lot of books, and the first image in that digitized book is going to be a sort of a dark brown book cover that's not even the original book cover. It's just a library issue dark brown blob, which isn't particularly interesting as a thumbnail. So you can select say the frontispiece as your thumbnail. But in terms of the rest of the 4 pages, if you include all the manifests, that will be enough for it to go to the Europeana display page. So that's the only thing I needed to put there. So if we go back to the Europeana page, you can see that this was the thumbnail, but you don't need to link to every single one of these other images. They're just going to display properly. So they're just here because you've got a general manifest to the whole thing. So in other words, you know, I mean, if you have a book which is 1,000 pages long, you don't have to have a link to every single one of those 1,000 pages, which is great. Yeah, so yeah, did that answer the question, Christina?
Yes, I think it did. I might come back to you
Yeah.
on this. So the 1,000 pages from your last example, they would need to be included as single, I don't know what the correct term is, single, it's not canvas, but the other thing where you put the image.
Manifest.
It would have to be in the manifest.
Yeah,
Sorry, what is it?
yeah. As long as they're all in the manifest, you just link to the manifest, and then they
Okay.
just go through the series, and it'll take you to the first one.
And I linked to the manifest already in the with the thumbnail. Method.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Yeah, I understand that this definitely, I can imagine, earns more time or needs more time to go deeper on. So it's also a good motivation if people in attendance are maybe a bit lost or would like to go into more detail, that we can do another delivering content in IIIF to Europeana workshop in the future, so people can go a bit deeper and create their first manifests and so on. But
Absolutely.
we're going to get a beginner's introduction of how he found working with IIIF up next, which will be my old colleague Hembo. You there, Hembo?
I'm here and I'm trying to share my screen with you as well.
I've just stopped sharing, so that should make it easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Greg. And I'm going to share my experience in the last year and a half. I spending with 2 projects. So I'm going to present 2 projects. So it's more like an overview, what I've done, how we approached our task, and it's at this point nothing. It's not related to Europeana, I know, in a like a data exchange way, but maybe in future. So I run a small company called Archivision, which is like 100% focused on cultural heritage, either as like a documentation, 3D recording, and so on. And my part is all the web and data related stuff. And I dive in to the project, which we started about 3 years ago. And it's about Estonian national costumes. And it's a small NGO running the website. And their main goal is to keep the tradition and the heritage of costume making. And what they do is, they do lots of training, and they take lots of photographs of those costume sets, what the people have been making, and they've been now they have like over 10,000 of photographs, and the plan is to continue the project in a way that also the historical objects will be included, so what like a privately owned objects, so the image kind of database is going to increase even more. So briefly, the kind of the what's the kind of the technical part of it. As said, it's over 10,000 images, and it's only not images, but also lots of descriptions about the particular costume set in particular parish. So there are lots of experts involved writing up the documentation about the particular parish. And as many of them are or were aware of WordPress, have been using it, so we decided to go and use WordPress as CMS, content management system. But there is no IIIF output in WordPress, and that's what we then kind of wrote ourselves to host or to make the data available for our front end, for our web application, which was again written in a Next.js, so it's not using the WordPress kind of native output. And as one of the issues we had, as WordPress changed their way of kind of managing or outputting the image data, that was the kind of the final kind of kick to move over, like 100% move over to IIIF in our web app. So all the content displayed in a web app is using directly IIIF manifest. So so there is nothing else basically in between. And image viewers, we use OpenSeaDragon, as that was easy to configure for our kind of needs, and the designer had kind of wanted to have it more kind of embedded in a kind of more that design kind of elements attached. And the image server is IIP image, which then produces, or not producing, but they're serving the image API and there's like zoomable images. And the workflow for the user is just uploading the image and then in a backend the zoomable or the pyramid diff is generated. So yeah, there are many actually routes or endpoints generated for a manifest for one single image, and I think the main thing I'm kind of proud of is in a way that we can even search. So now I share the screen where we have the same view in a Mirador viewer, where the only one parish is displayed. So we get the same content with the same metadata in a completely different setup, and even like showing it to the customer, they were very happy, as this, it really makes this data usable. Like, let's say in Europeana, you could basically have access to the whole set for the parish without going anywhere else. So it's all accessible basically through the IIIF. Main issues we've had, first, WordPress is not really the best tool for when you have 10,000 images. So to manage it and also to handle yeah, the metadata. And also it creates lots of kind of redundant files, thumbnails, different sizes of like versions of the same file. Yeah, we kind of decreased it only to the thumbnail and the original file, but still the pyramid diff is generated. So yeah, for the future, we've been thinking of actually moving out from WordPress and see maybe there are content or the digital asset management tools which already has a IIIF capability. I mean, I know that there are a resource space, for example, and as our web application needs only the manifests, so it would be very easy to just reconfigure without really recoding everything. So and other thing we've been thinking of is how to make like how to make the dataset multilingual, as currently it's all in Estonian. Yeah, some labels are translated and some introduction text about the parishes are translated. But now the IIIF, I've kind of played a little bit around with the multilingual kind of labels, but I haven't really tested it, how it would work in a like real environment if you have a multilingual data set. So that's about the costumes, national costumes website. And now I jump to the other project, which I've been working with the University of Tallinn. It's a project called Digital Livonia. And the main goal is to basically gather different resources which already exist, and new kind of databases will be created about medieval Livonia. And currently there are 7 researchers producing different kinds of data sets, and we have some data like a digitized resources or like provided by the library, which already are IIIF. That was the process we also initiated, as I knew that the system they use or supports IIIF, but they haven't enabled it. So now they configured their system, and we can get all the digitized source editions as a IIIF. I mean, in our case, it's really nice, as now we can combine like a digital text with images, which we get from the database, and some object sources, what we are going to include in our project. So we decided to use a Mirador viewer to make it more, as it has a built-in capability of like opening up multiple images at the same time. And again, we had to create our manifests, kind of, or create the tool to provide the manifest, as we use content management or database management system called Directus, which does not provide a IIIF output. So we have created a very simple version at this point, where only the basic like image data is displayed, so not actual metadata at this point. And I've been talking with the developers in Directus as well to see if they actually would be able to make it as a core functionality for their system, as the image kind of image handling or processing component that they use actually outputs zoomable kind of image data in a IIIF like a image API format. So so it's just I guess a small thing for them to do. And again, the front end is in Next.js. And yes, as said, currently when image is displayed via a Mirador viewer, user downloads the full image, and Mirador just makes it zoomable. But for kind of the data behind is still the full image, not the zoomable, and just a part sent to the viewer. And for the future steps, for the library content, at the moment it does not provide the actual digitized content. I mean, yeah, we get them as images, but not as text. So they have Metsalto data available, but in some reason it wasn't included in a manifest. So this is a kind of next thing us to discuss and to get working. And the second thing is to look more into Mirador workspaces, to include the capability that when looking around in our system, you can just add things to your workspace and then manage your, and I don't know, compare, look and work with your data set as it's like a research tool. So to conclude, I think my journey with IIIF has been very very kind of nice and encouraging. I see lots of benefit there for as a developer to make things more robust when it comes to data delivery and presenting it, and also as a researcher to use those get an advantage from the tools which are there and use the same data set with different tools in a very kind of easy way. So thank you, and yeah, if there are any questions, happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Hembo. We had one question in the chat, which I think was referring to the first project that you had presented on, which was, are the images downloadable?
I mean, in a way they are, if you know how to do it. There is no download link attached on a website, as I guess the customer didn't. I don't even remember at the moment if they didn't want to have it or we just haven't added it yet. But yeah, they are downloadable if you know how to do it, as all the images are in presented via the IIP image server. So if you know how to get the full image from there, then you can do it.
So for those that want to download them, they can, but it's not that it's
yeah, it's
explicitly
not provided
made available.
the link. But
Yeah.
for the other project, there will be, as that was the kind of the request.
Well, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
If you could put the links to both of the project websites in the chat, people were also.
I will. So the second one actually is not live yet.
Okay.
So I will put down the first one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And next up we have Michalis Safakis. Are you there?
Yes, Michalis Fakakis.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Just a moment to share my my presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'm Michalis Fakakis. I'm associate professor in the Department of Archives, Library Science and Museology of the Ionian University, as well as member of the Laboratory on Digital Libraries and Electronic Publishing. Ionian University is based on Corfu Island in Greece. I have to thank the organizer for giving us the opportunity to share our EuropeanaTech implementation story from Greece. What I'm going to present, of course, is the outcome of the collaboration of a team consisting of members with different expertise, ranging from, let's say, computer science developers, librarians, musicologists, musicians, etc. So I'm just a member of the team, and now I am the lucky man to present our work. So the Music Score Archive actually is a part of a wider project. You can see the whole, the complete title, which is financially supported by the European Union and Greece under the Regional Operational Program Ionian Islands 2014 to 2020. The goal of the project is to preserve, disseminate the scores from the band's archive, mostly handwritten music scores since the mid of the 19th century. The whole project consists of 5 work packages. One package is related to the digitization of 50,000 score pages. Another work package is for the transcription of selected handwritten scores in music XML. Another work package is for the documentation, and due to the cooperation of different teams, we have to develop a system and process to integrate each team outputs in a coherent workflow. the archive, the content of the archive is very interesting because it consists of original works locally created from scores, music scores of original works, as well as from adaptation of Western music works of Greek and other European components. At this time, 7 philharmonic bands are involved in the project, and the system and the repository incorporates their archives. There are 5 bands from Corfu and 2 bands from Kefalonia. Due to the long history of the philharmonic bands in the Ionian Islands, there are also other valuable archives to add them in the future. This slides depicts the overall architecture of our digital repository. In our digital repository, the IIIF story is involved in the task of organizing and delivering the collections of images of the digitized handwritten music scores. Handwritten scores, music scores, are collections actually from full scores and parts, and each score is a collection of images. As you can see, the digital objects are managed by Cantaloupe IIIF server. You see it at the extreme right in orange. And we use the IIIF presentation API to define the structure of the digitized content. Every musical work is given by a collection of IIIF manifests. And finally, we use the MARC standard, MARC 21 metadata standard in order to describe the musical works in MARC records following the RDA, the resource description and access rules. At this point, we use also the Omeka S open source software as the content presentation and the authentication as also an authentication layer. Omeka S can integrate the IIIF user module. The structure also, but we plan the future to add more metadata in Omeka S because Omeka S is able to use RDFS vocabularies and the resource description and access standard has also an RDF vocabulary. So in the future, Omeka S will play a more critical role. Also, for the presentation layer, we have a IIIF manifest server, as you can see on the bottom of the figure. As already mentioned, handwritten music scores are collections of full scores or parts. Therefore, a musical work is represented from a collection, from IIIF collection, and each individual score or part is a IIIF manifest. And finally, the content is the collection of IIIF images. In this slide, we can see the process, the whole process, how we begin, how we started from the digitization process, and then how we load both the images into the Cantaloupe server, as well as the IIIF manifests in the MariaDB server. First, the process started by scanning the archives and digitized all individual pages. Then team of music experts make some basic tests and checks in the digitization process. Let's say if the image is visible, if the images are in the correct order, etc. And after that, all digitized music files are loaded into Cantaloupe server. Next, again, music experts group together or similar or related images to the parts or to the score by adding some structural metadata. This structural metadata, else we will see in the next slide, it's very primitive. In order script to run and produce the IIIF manifests and collections. In order finally to generate the collection and load into the IIIF manifest repository. This, as already mentioned, the music score archive, this archive is a part of a wider project. And at this slide, you can see the overall process for the transcription and the generation of the music XML files in order to cover the other parts of the project. In the slides, we see how the musicians works in order to test the images, as well as how they do the very primitive metadata in order then the script to be able to generate the manifest. We see on the left side there is a list. There is its individual musical work consists of let's say all images related to its individual work are in one folder. The script lists all that images, and then as we see on the right side, we see the music experts have to read each individual image and then to group the proper images in order to constitute the group for the specific part or score. And then we use the IIIF Prezi library in order to create the IIIF collection manifest. The final thing about the metadata we use the MARC standard in order to describe the musical works, but we try to fulfill the rules and the standards of the resource description and access new standard because the next plan at this time we are working on modifying on improve the Omeka S platform in order to use the RDFS vocabulary provided by the RDA standard. So the next step is to make Omeka S more vital to our development, and the user to be able to see better or to explore better the relationships between the virus, the many different expressions of the same musical work, etc. This is it. Thank you very much. You can also find the complete description of our work. There's a paper you can see at the bottom of the slide. You can see the whole description, as well as you can find we will send the link in order to be able someone to test or to browse our system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for presenting, and it's nice to have a presentation in relation to music and not just text and image. I was wondering if there are any plans to incorporate OM or optical music recognition and MIDI playback for visitors to the website where they can hear these scores as well. Is that on your agenda? And does IIIF fit into that at all?
Well, at this point, we transcribe manually the parts and produce music XML files. This is what we're doing now. We're planning, yes, in the next if we are able to develop to compose the proper tools to incorporate also music XML files into the same infrastructure.
Great, thanks. A few more things have come in. Sebastian from Europeana Foundation raising the Wikimedia project around sheet music. Actually, Wikimedia is a great resource for MIDI scores as well, for anyone also interested. And Glenn, maybe you want to pop in here. I didn't introduce you in the beginning, but Glenn Robson, everyone, IIIF Technical Community Coordinator.
Sure, thank you. And it's great to hear the presentation again, echoing Greg, to see music in there as well as other types of images. I was just wondering how you generate the music XML. Is that using the IIIF manifests, or is it done kind of before you get to that stage?
Well, actually, at this point, music XML is done by musicians. They read the parts and they use software in order to produce music XML. We don't make any automation at this point. They are also tried sometimes to correct or to find some errors in the parts. But okay, at this point, we just use we make the whole process manually.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michalis, for your presentation and for joining us today. Please keep us updated.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Bye.
And up next, so let me check the agenda. Hendrik from KU Leuven, correct?
Yes, correct. Can you see the presentation?
Looks good, yeah.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you for having this initiative and to present our ongoing research and work on an implementation of IIIF with what we called curated data sets. At our university, we have a core facility which is called VIEW. It's specifically created to make all kind of studies, all kind of researches on heritage objects, and we use a whole bunch of different kind of tools on the use for the study of all kind of different types of heritage. This is just a couple of them, but actually there are a lot more of different tools which create data once you start studying heritage objects, which make sure that at the end of a research program, you actually end up with a lot of different kind of data sets. They're being used for scientific papers. And the challenge we had in front of us a couple of years ago when this project was written and got funded is we have to make sure that with the very interesting dissemination platforms which already exist, and one of them is of course IIIF, which is implemented at our KU Leuven libraries already for a whole bunch of years, where we use it for the standard documentation and visualization of documentary heritage, but strictly spoken, of course, any kind of heritage can be disseminated like that. So we're already very much familiar with all of that. But then, for example, on this specific folio you see in the Bravery of Gerardsbergen, which is kept at the Abbey of Maritzu in Belgium. One research is being done, mostly it's on specific details on that surface. Yeah? So that exact same objects, different kinds of research tools will be used on one very specific detail and will come up with more and new complicated data sets. Like in this case, a narrowband multispectral imaging data set or cube, where for that exact detail, a whole bunch of extra documentary and visually information is being created by these research tools. Based on that specific data set, even more extra data sets can be created. And this is just one example. With that specific data set, even analytic data can be extracted from this kind of complex and multi-layered information. It can be one curve you create out of it, but in another example here, different spectral curves can be extracted and generated. This is just only one example, but also if then we start combining it with even other tools, again, based on whatever the research question for the study of that object is, a researcher in collaboration with those who operate these research tools, specific curated data is being produced to document, to visualize specific research questions, which is then being used in publications of all sorts. It does not only include pure visual data, but it can also be, for example, XRF point measurements. It can also create, we can also create analytical data sets. And so at a certain moment, you want to bring all of that together and to curate it into a scientific data set, which is a data set on itself, right? Everything is being brought together, and then the challenge pops up: how can we curate all of that into a user-friendly consultation environment? And secondly, of course, also, if we do that and we can treat this very complex data set, how can we embed this entire data set into the standardized workflow of our institution? In our case, that is KU Leuven libraries, where we have a good workflow, which ends up in a long-term preservation environment. So very interesting for reuse of scientific data, but we didn't have a workflow up till now for these very complex data sets. There are a couple of additional challenges when we started addressing and work towards solutions. For example, for a point measurement, it can be visualized when it is when that information, that analytical data, is plotted into a graph, and that graph, we can make a bitmap of it, and then it's quite easy to put it into a existing workflow, which ends up into a IIIF image viewer. But we also want to have actually the textual data that can also be extracted from the data set which is being published. Second additional challenge is if scientific tools are being used to document whatever you are documenting, quite often it is crucial that you also document how exactly that scientific tool has been used. How was it positioned? How was it directed towards the object it was studying, and so on and so further. We call it paradata. For example, for the narrowband multispectral imaging, we created a metadata standard ourselves. A lot of information is being documented. And here we came up with that all of that information information, this paradata, we embed it into the images of each of the images we create with that specific registration or documentation tool. It's embedded in the images itself. Yeah? More specifically, we have embedded it in the IPTC description field in the technical metadata. Another additional challenge is that some of these imaging tools, they actually create interactive data sets. Also, when we want to push it and to make sure that these complicated data sets are being published via a IIIF platform, it's also very important to make sure that the interactivity of the data is not lost and that it can be linked with a direct link to these kind of interactive data sets. And another important issue we saw from the beginning is if we image one and the same surface with different imaging tools, putting all of them in register is not an easy thing actually to do, and we also had to come up with solutions to overcome that issue. My colleague Dirk Kenaas from our ICT department at KU Leuven Libraries, Libis, will now continue and show you how we are addressing the
Thanks, Hendrik. I don't know, can I continue on your shared presentation, or yeah? So I suppose you can go forward on the next page whenever it's necessary. So okay, the next slide. First, so we what I'm going to explain is what do we do with the data that the researchers have prepared, all these kinds of files and metadata, and how are we going to combine it all into an environment.
Dirk, you can push presentation mode.
And so you have all this data, and we want to have it all available in one viewer window where you can see everything that's available and how it's linked to everything else. So starting from the data set, so we get the files. We get an Excel file or a CSV file which contains all the information about how the files are related to the data set and to each other, and also we want to know how certain fragments or detailed images are linked to the overall image, as we'll see in a minute. So we have several zones we define on that the researcher defines on the global image, and each zone can be mapped to a different file where it's more detail about that section of or that zone is displayed, and also using points annotations. So here's an example of the kind of data that when it is being prepared, and we have all these files, which are these TIFF files, which are somehow linked to specific zones or points of the image on the left. See, so you saw two examples here of a zone. This one is slightly tilted, as you can see, so that's also something we allow. And here we say, for instance, that a certain file on the right is connected to this zone on the left, to this zone that you see in black here. So all this thing is prepared in advance by the researchers. And now what we have done is to make to use this data in Mirador 3 viewer to show it to the user. But first of all, a bit about the workflow and the data flows. So let me go over this quickly. So we start from the data set that containing all the files and the technical and other metadata. We ingest it into our institutional repository, which is a Rosetta system. There, every object, every data set gets a unique identifier, a PID, as well as every file that's included. Then we generate manifest files from the repository. And we also make the files available from our Cantaloupe image server, Cantaloupe server, and Then when the viewer is opened, in this case Mirador 3, using a resolver URL, it can view the files, the image files from the Cantaloupe server, and also it includes links to that can be clicked on in order to view other files which are not image-based file formats, and so they can all be seen in the same environment. Okay, for the next slide. So how do we do that? As you can see here on the screen, we use annotations, rectangles, and points, in which are used to show where each fragment or analytical data set, data file is linked to the overall image. As you see, all these colored points here, they are data about measurements on that specific point, and the blue rectangles are places where more detailed images are available. And on the left, we have the layers. We have used the layers on the left to show all the fragments, the images, and all the images and at the different wavelengths, all the fragment and detailed images. So all the images are on the left. And when you click on one of the annotations, as you see what's happening here, then it will put that layer on top, and it shows that layer in that place on the overall images where it belongs to. And on the right, you can see the metadata about that fragment that is being put on top in highlighted. So we made some modifications here, code adaptations in the viewer, so that all these things work in sync. So if you click on an annotation, that it also puts the layer on top, etc., and that you can see on the right that the correct description is shown about the annotation that is visible. We also have annotations where another modification that we made is that we allow that these images can be rotated. As you can see, the gray image at the bottom here is slightly tilted, so we made sure that this also works. And we also have links, and this is an example of a file that is linked to one of the points. So if you click on the point, it will open this image, this graph here. This is an example of the graph combined with textual data. So we can have different file formats behind, or also Excel and PDF and other data files. And we try as much as possible to display the image files within the Mirador 3 viewer, and for other file formats, such as the one you see here, where we have an interactive viewer that allows you to look at the file at the object from different sides. So that's more or less. I think I have to finish because to stop because it's time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties, but it's really nice.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened.
No, it's okay. It's nice to have seen, to have examples of kind of just how deep things can go when it comes to Mirador and IIIF. So thank you for showing those examples.
Yeah, thanks.
Is there, can you share a link in the chat to where people can engage with them themselves?
At this very moment, it hasn't been put on
Okay.
Live yet. So this is ongoing work.
Okay, well, keep us updated. Yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Before we go to our final presentation by Michael Luzhny, a bit of housekeeping just so that Michael can run out the clock. One thing that I can put my camera on for now. One thing for now, we will be doing this again. We will have another IIIF and EuropeanaTech webinar, which we already have planned for January 19th, I believe. That's right, Glenn? January 19th?
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, so stay tuned. If people found this interesting, we will be sharing that announcement in the coming weeks. And also, we would really love to hear from everyone about what you would like to hear more about, and whether or not you would look for something that is presentation-based, discussion-based, workshop-based, or education-based, capacity building-based. So please drop us a line in the chat, or drop me or Glenn an email, because we also want to make sure that these are as valuable for you all in attendance as well. So there's that, and there's that. And then I have been asked by my colleague at Europeana Foundation, Sebastian, to plug another upcoming webinar, November 22nd from 1 o'clock to 2:30 Central European Time, called Europeana Subtitled Training for Aggregators. So this is an interactive training for Europeana content aggregators to learn about subtitling and translating videos, and how this really improves accessibility, not just for the viewers, but also for those who may be hard of hearing. And so it offers your audiovisual content, or your video content, I should say, in a more inclusive way. So I'll drop that in the chat for those of you that are interested in signing up. And Glenn, what's IIIF do when it comes to subtitling videos? Real quick.
So there are ways to do it.
There are ways to do it.
Isn't fantastic at the moment, but there is a way to do it in standard.
Okay. So maybe that will be a topic on a future IIIF EuropeanaTech webinar. Yeah, great. Thank you to all the presenters. Thank you to all of you for coming. And I will now pass over to Michael Luzhny from the National Library of Czech Republic.
Yes, that's right. Good afternoon to everyone. I hope you all see my screen. So I'm gonna start. Maybe it's great that I finished this session, because I will follow on the previous presentation, because I want to do a little demonstration of how we annotate digitized documents in our digital library, and at the same time, IIIF enables us to disseminate them all over the internet. So that's it. But at the beginning, only a few introductory notes on Manuscriptorium. Even though many of you may know it already, we are one of the biggest digital libraries aggregating written cultural heritage. Well, just a basic statistics. Currently, we are aggregating more than 380,000 catalog records, and of these, there are more than 160,000 digitized items, most of them dating back to before 1800. We have more than 180 partner institutions from around all Europe, and even overseas. For example, you can see all of them. Sorry, I may be too quick. You can see all of them at the bottom of our homepage here, or all our partner institutions whose data we are aggregating in Manuscriptorium. But this is the older, still the most valid version of Manuscriptorium. But roughly a year ago, we made public a brand new version of Manuscriptorium, Manuscriptorium version 4, but it's still in only online available as a beta version. Only parts of it being translated into English, unfortunately. But the main goal of ours is to make the digitized content more accessible, available to scholars, students, teachers, publishing short, popularizing articles about particular documents like this, or creating and publishing virtual exhibitions, such as then it can look like this. Just a sometimes it can take some time. It's quite slow. I'm sorry, that is maybe because of the screen sharing, but then it looks like this. It's quite simple, but I think user-friendly. Yeah, I need to open it once again, sorry. So, and now let's get maybe to IIIF. We started implementing it as far as back as 2016 with the image API. Currently, we have in Manuscriptorium integrated also the presentation API, both of them in the version 2. But the most important innovation in the newest version is, this is how the catalog looks like. And if I go to browser, I can open and view, as well as further work with any IIIF compatible document available on the internet. So I have here one example of a manuscript from Mainz Municipal Library. So if I just copy the URL leading to the manifest, then I can simply load it in our browser, and I'm able to, after a moment, view it in our environment and further work with it, meaning I can choose some parts of the documents, add it to my favorite items, then move these items in my collections, and in this way I'm able to save the data, even though we don't aggregate these. So that is, in terms of IIIF sharing content, definitely major innovation for us. And now let's get probably to the annotations themselves. And that is, I will demonstrate from the viewpoint of the end user, which is, I hope, is interesting, can be interesting for you to see. So let's get back to catalog. So let's say I am a researcher interested in medieval literature. I am, let's say I'm particularly interested in one text, and I want to collect all of them in as part of my dedicated collection, which is able to do any logged-in user of Manuscriptorium, which is very simple to be. So I have found some manuscript. Then I will open it in the browser, and I will skip all the researching steps, let's say. So I know where it is exactly. It's an excerpt from a dialogue of renowned medieval scholar Matthew of Krakow. I know that it's, and before that, sorry, I can, if I have found this document, I can, sorry. I can mark the whole document as favorite by clicking on the star icon. Then I go to my favorites. I have it in here. I can add to it annotation, which I have prepared in here, stating that this is one of the manuscripts containing the text which I am interested in. I will save it. I have pre-prepared collection dedicated to this work, so I can simply move it to it. Here it is the excerpts from the dialogue. So I have one item prepared in the collection here. Yeah. So now I want to add particular images containing the text. So when I found them, I opened them. It's on those two folios. And again, I can mark them as favorites. This time only the pages themselves. And right away, see that this this image has been indicated as important to me by means of this. Oh, it slows. Yeah, it's still a beta version, so it's sometimes it can take some time. Yeah, and again, I can add to this item some comment annotation. So I will do that. This is the beginning of the text in this very manuscript. Maybe I need to refresh it. Sorry. Yes. So once again. And now to conclude it, I can also, I will again move it to the collection. And last but not least, I can also cut out section of particular images and again add to them some kind of comment. So this can be any annotation imaginable, description of initials or illuminations, transcriptions of part of the text, etc. So, for example, there is this rubric indicating that the text of the excerpt starts here. So I will do the section or mark the section simply as that. And right away, it asks me if what I want to do with it, hopefully. Yeah. Well, I'm afraid that's because of my computer. So I'm truly sorry. Once again, I have to reload it. Well, maybe I will stop video. Yes. So once again, yes, and now I will mark it again as favorite, close it, add the annotation to it as well. Here. You can also format the text. And move it to the collection. And one final step in order to make it visible, and also in order for me to be able to share it with anyone via IIIF manifest, I have to make, and that is only one not so not the best way how to do it, but I need to make the collection public in the environment of Manuscriptorium. That means I need to go to collection environment where I can create virtual exhibitions, and here simply make the manifest public. And that's simple as that. I can get back to the browser. Yeah, the same thing. Maybe I can do this. And once the document is loaded, yeah, I can see here that one page is indicated as favorite, and therefore can contain some further content added to it, such as the annotations. And yeah, we can also see it in here that I have added the annotation, but there are two annotations. One is to the image as a whole, which is here, beginning of the excerpt, and the second is the precise section of the image, again with the in this case with the transcription of the text, De Perceptione Corporis Christi, etc. And what is the most important maybe is that I am able, as I said, via IIIF manifest, to share it with anyone that have access to some IIIF viewer, such as Mirador. So I can, if I click here in Manuscriptorium on the icon, on the IIIF icon, I have two options. I can just copy and paste URL of the original document, or the URL of the IIIF enriched document, which is the second option, meaning this that the annotations will write themselves in the manifest, to put it not in the most precise technical terms. So, and we have integrated Mirador also in the newest version of Manuscriptorium, so I can show it to you right away.
Michael, could I ask you to start wrapping up? I have to leave.
Yeah,
if I leave, the meeting ends.
Of course, this is
Yeah.
this is the final thing. So I will add the manifest in here, open the document, and once in the metadata section, I have in here my I can see my annotation, and also in the content, if I go to the text, which is in here, and now I can see that there is some annotation, and these are the annotations which I added to the document. So I hope it was understandable. Thank you for your attention, and I'm really sorry for the slow progress of my computer. Yeah. So that.
No problem. Thank you very much. And it's nice, as Tom said, it's nice to see Manuscriptorium again in action. Thank you, everyone, to those of you who a lot of you stuck around. We went a bit over, but one last time, thank you to all the presenters. We will do our best to collect all the slides and pair them with the recording of this session. And we hope to see some of you again on January 19th for the next session of IIIF and EuropeanaTech. So thank you once again, everyone.